you shouldn't even have to hardly ever go in here to do this because this should always be running, okay? And then if I open up my browser to Google Chrome and I type in my IP address,
You guys don't know your IP address off the top of your head?
That was impressive though.
and actually it's going to be different because you're not on the network yet. This is just what we've used for setup. You'll
No,
get
but-
to,
It's probably a question for IT, but if we're on the school system, we'll be able to access from the high school.
it depends on how the network's set up.
So that's more.
Yeah. But let them know that that's what you want, and
Yeah.
voila.
Yeah.
Get an app?
Yeah.
Can we get an app on the phone?
What's a browser?
Yeah.
So,
So you can open it on your phone.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a browser. You can
Just
open it on
read-
anything.
Just keep open on web page.
It can be on a tablet, it can be on whatever.
That's nice.
Yeah.
It's gonna be easier.
That's bigger.
It is pretty cool.
Just leave
So,
the page open.
so I'm gonna log in here, and my default password is admin1, but you guys can change that if you so wish when yours gets up and running. And you can see this thing spinning, that it's working, or trying to work, or loading, or whatever you want to call it. And then when it populates, you'll actually see your system here for Gibbs School. This is a middle school?
It's sixth grade only.
6th grade only?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, wow, it's like a magnet type school or something? Or
it's to
They-
relieve pressure at the
Middle school.
the middle school, right?
wow, a single grade school. Wow, I don't know that I've ever heard
It's
of
only
that.
the second one in the state.
Yeah?
Really?
Is that right?
Yeah, there's one in Needham, that's it.
Yeah, I've never heard of it before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had either. So we just do it here.
Okay, so now I have, it's telling me my Q alerts and reporting isn't set up because this isn't your server and I didn't set any of that up because it's a waste of time for me to do that on my laptop. So you have Gibbs Middle School and you have your schedules, alerts. When that's set up, it will actually alert whoever you want to be alerted as to, device failures, lamps out, those kinds of things. Say, hey, classroom 102 has a driver not responding, or a sensor not responding, or whatever. It's kind of nice to be able to just, that's cool. It's telling me exactly what I need to do today. You're going to hurt yourself on that. That looks really, really sharp.
It's all right.
Be careful.
We're good.
All right. So, so if I want to look at actual rooms, let's look at first floor part A. I guess this is the breakdown of the school as we were given to it on the prints, and there is the school, and it's populating and what have you. And if I click on a space, this is classroom 126, and I can go to the area dashboard. Actually, some of this is going to take a while to populate because I just started runtime. Runtime and all that stuff runs in the background, and it takes a few minutes for all that to populate. When your server's up and running and all this has been loaded and running, you won't have delays like that. Okay? Now I can look at all these different things. It shows that the lights are on. Nobody's home, but the lights are on. Occupancy's unknown because it needs to register. I can go to lights and I can turn the lights off if I want to. I don't see an off button, which is kind of weird. Maybe they just have the occupancy turning the lights off, but like I said, I don't know. I didn't do the programming here. But I can operate the lights real time right here. Now, to your question about changing the buttons, here I can change the buttons. I can save settings to a scene, right? So if I'm at my on scene, if I go to my on scene, and none of these are registering. I don't think it's loaded yet. That's part of the problem. But I can adjust my lights, and then I could save it to a scene. If I hit save to a scene, which scene do I want to save it to? I pick which scene I want to save it to. Boom. And it saves it. So let's cancel that because, like I said, the programming is not done here yet, and if this room's already been done, I don't want to screw it up. So there, now things are showing. Now things are showing. Remember, I told you it was going to take a few minutes. Now it's working. So you can see what the setting is, and you can adjust it. And if you do adjust it, you then have to hit the save to a scene button and save it to whichever scene you want it to be. He named the scenes exactly what he named the buttons, so it should be relatively straightforward to adjust your lights. If
Just to that one room.
Yeah, just to this room. This is by room. Remember I mentioned to you that you have to adjust everything is by room.
Yep.
Go back to the dashboard for classroom 126, 123. I can go back again to my floor plan, which was a waste because I also wanted to show you how to disable daylighting. Although that was probably a room that doesn't have daylighting. Is that the room we were just in? That looks familiar.
126.
Is it science?
Might be on the way to the. No, I think that was the other side.
Oh, all right. Wow.
I think it's this side of the building.
I don't know. I wanted to pick a room that has daylighting. Let me see if it has daylighting.
Sorry.
Occupancy too. Yeah, see now your occupancy is populated. It all just took a little bit of time. But when your server's up and running, it's always going to be there, right? So you can go in and change your lights. You can change your settings. You can real time turn your lights on and off. For instance, let's say electrician. You electrician? Let's say you go to work where it says, hey man, there's a pole light out. You come here in the daytime because that's when you work.
Yep.
Which pole is it?
Turn them all on.
Yeah, let's play a guessing game. They try to give you information. Oh, it's the one in the middle. While you go there and there's three in the middle. You're like, okay. So you can actually go in here and go to your site lighting and turn exterior lights on.
Good for plow guys too.
Yeah.
To play
Really
in the
good
middle
for
of the
plow
night, they can
guys.
just turn all the lights
Right.
on.
Or you can, just schedule it. Scheduling things is really, really easy.
So
So,
there's no time clocks in this building, right? It's all through that.
huh?
There's no time clocks in the building. It's all through that.
It would all be through this, yeah. I would think so. Would kind of be redundant. If
Yeah,
I-
exactly.
Yeah. So let me just go to the site lighting area dashboard. See, there is a time clock set. And because it says time 6:37, I'm guessing it's a reference to sunrise or sunset.
Yeah.
So I can look at the schedule. And it brings up the calendar looking deal here. Now this is something, don't shoot the messenger, okay? That little bar is the thing you gotta grab to move up and down the schedule.
Right.
Okay, and there's my event at 7:17 a.m. I would guess that is probably lights off,
Mm-hmm.
probably exterior lights off. If I click on it, I can look and see exactly what it does.
It's based on sunrise, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
1 hour after sunrise, it turns off. An
Ta-da.
hour before sunrise, it turns on.
right. Now I clicked on one that already happened, so it's not going to let me alter it. Okay, so you see here, that past events, right? But if I go back and I pick tomorrow, for instance, if I pick, today's Monday, right?
Yeah.
Da, da, da. Oh, I gotta pick an event. Okay. If I go up to Tuesday, you see the time is changing, 16, 17,
Yeah.
18. It does that all year round.
On daylight savings.
Yeah,
It
automatically
We
does
don't have to
daylight
come in and adjust
savings.
it.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope, it's a done deal. Now,
Yeah.
now if I clicked on an event that is current, that's future, I mean, now it gives me the option of changing it in this one occurrence, meaning Tuesday. Or if I hit series, it's gonna change my morning thing going forward.
Yep.
So it's really kind of convenient, right? So if I have that set for, if it's a weekday event or whatever, if I go to series, it's going to change it for every weekday forever going forward. Or if it's a special event, I got stuff going on, or I know I got a snowstorm
Yeah.
and I know the plow guy's going to be here at 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
boom, I can, do something with the lights that looks like they're gonna be on all night anyway.
You go to occurrence, if it's
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
yeah.
You
Go to
voting
that
or
one
something.
occurrence and
All right.
change it.
All right.
But the other thing is, you might have neighbors that say, "Hey, this stinking school's lit up. All stinking night is shining in my bedroom. What a waste of energy. I'm a taxpayer in this town. Yada yada yada." So you might end up changing this to like 11 o'clock. It'll turn off some of the exterior lights,
Yeah.
to save energy and appease the neighbors and whatever. So yeah, it's very flexible, but it's really easy to do. You just do it in view. Go to the space that you want to time clock, and let's say I'm only gonna mess with the currents in case I mess something up. And here I can change it, or I can disable it. If you have for instance, some places have events like late at night, and they say, well, you know what, I don't want my school to shut off at 7 p.m. Sometimes they just have an off command set at 7 p.m. just to make sure somebody didn't leave some lights on. I think most of your stuff's occupancy censored anyway, but if you have an area that's not, and you have parent-teacher night or something, and you're like, oh, we're going to be here late tonight, just disable the time clock so that the lights don't go off on a building full of people during the science fair or what have you. So that's pretty cool. And again, like I said, if there's enough thought given to all the eventualities when you first get going with the system, schedules get worked out, settings in the rooms get worked out. After a while, you'll probably very rarely have to get into this, except for probably time clocks. You're like, hey, spring break's coming up, we're gonna schedule, we don't need the school to light up all week because we're spring break, or hey, it's summer vacation or whatever. We got summer school hours now, let's change the whatever. But most of your stuff is on occupancy, so it really doesn't matter. I will caution you on this. Try not to, actually you shouldn't, time clock stuff that's occupancy set. Because if it gets out of sequence or it gets out of sync, you'll be doing jumping jacks again and you won't be able to turn your lights on. If the room is already occupied, or the space is already occupied, and a time clock event comes through and turns the lights off, you can wave at the nice sensors all you want, lights aren't gonna come back on, unless you go over and hit a button. So that's, that tends to complicate and overcomplicate systems when people try to do that. But like I said, occupancy is the best case scenario because the lights are only gonna work when people are there. So it's the most efficient thing to do.
What are our hallway lights set on? On all the time?
I don't know. I don't know if they're motion or not.
I
I
think
can
those
look.
are
I
occupancy
thought I
too,
saw
aren't they?
occupancy on the hallways.
Yeah.
There might be occupancy.
Okay.
Sure.
I can look.
Occupancy sensors in the hallway, but.
I think most of the building
Yeah.
inside is.
Let's go
Now,
to.
you said on the exterior lights, can you dim it or is it just completely on and off?
Usually those are non-dimmable.
Okay.
Generally, like I said, I didn't do the startup here. This is my first time here, but I would venture to bet that they're probably not dimmable.
Because I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah.
Like you said, after midnight, just dim it down. to
Oh,
50.
the outside, yeah.
Because-
Let
that
me
side,
see.
you get
There's
the-
got to be a
Yeah, it's
corridor
also-
here
yeah.
somewhere. Corridor. Let me look at the corridor. And we'll look at the area dashboard. And yes, it has occupancy.
Yeah, good.
Right.
Oh,
So,
nice.
so yeah. So the only thing you'll probably ever time clock is your exterior lights. Just about everything's occupancy sensor, which is the most efficient way to do things. I mean, if I was a taxpayer in this district, I'd be happy. The whole place is
Right.
occupancy censored, and it's all LED.
Right,
That's a good thing.
otherwise people are gonna be looking at the building at 2 a.m. and it's
Why those
full.
I
lights
am
on?
telling you what, man. I mean, and the worst place for that kind of thing is like university campuses, because there's almost always some very ecologically minded students.
Yep.
Oh, and they just blow up the dean's email. Hey, how come so and so hall is lit up all night and yada yada yada? Having kittens, right? And it is what it is. I don't think lights should be on all night anyway. It's wasteful too. So,
Yeah.
but you're going to have all the tools when this thing is said and done to be able to tweak it. But like I said, it's 99.9% of this is occupancy. So
Yep.
you're gold. You're gold. So
Sounds good, blood.
so you'll have, when our guy sets up the server and the system's completely done, you'll know what your login's going to be. Usually just type in the IP address, boom, and you're there. And then once you do it on your device, you just save it as Quantum View and you're good. You just go Quantum View, click, boom, you're in Quantum View. And to your point, you know, what depending on what your IT department does network-wise, you may or may not be able to hit it from the high school or from wherever. I don't see why they wouldn't be able to make that happen, especially if your network talks from building to building. I would imagine they can enable this to go also. A simple port setting for them. So, any questions about the Quantum View? Thing that's great is the floor plan. You don't have to know the room number. You're like, oh yeah, it was that corner room, and I can look at the floor plan and say, okay, yeah, that was that one. Boom, boom, boom. You know, relatively simple.
It's all on the computer, right? There's no touch screens. I know like the Strat school has
No.
touch screen.
Oh, right, yeah.
No, there's no touch screens. This is one step better because this can be on any device in your hand.
Yeah.
Anything with a browser, you can just boom. I'm in the lighting system. If you have the password to it, you're golden.
The other elementary school, you got the
Yeah.
main switch and the custodian. I think he shut a section of the room, the hallway off, and they couldn't override it.
Right.
And he didn't know he hit it.
Yeah.
On vacation.
Yeah. I mean, it is. You know, no system's bulletproof. Obviously, anything
Yeah.
made by man is going to fail and/or malfunction or get misoperated at one point or another. But this one really is kind of takes things out of your hand. These are kind of yellow, probably indicating that the lights are on in those spaces. So I love it when a building has mostly occupancy because it makes it easier for
Yeah.
you guys. Okay, let me show you some parts here. The covers are all off. Obviously, if you're not a qualified electrician, you know, voltage is hazardous to life to exist. Do not attempt to adjust, calibrate, or touch these unless you are a qualified electrician. I don't know where the there's normally an inner plastic cover that goes over this top part, and I'm sure they're here somewhere.
I
They
think
might
they're
be
up there, yeah. I think-
No, there'll
it's
be
a
plastic-
separate one.
There's plastic covers.
Alex will know where they are.
I'm sure Alex knows where they are. That normally goes over this part, so that yeah, there's one of them, or three of them. All right, two of them. These are normally here. It says line voltage shield because there's line voltage right there. That would normally go here. So that's what it would normally look like. Put that right back where Alex had it, or I'll be in trouble for moving it. Then I'll be as guilty as my wife is with my stuff. I don't know if it's just me, right? Like, you're like, hey, I can't find my so-and-so. Oh, where's my so-and-so? You shouldn't leave your stuff laying around. I'm like, I know it was right here.
I knew
Why
where
put it
was.
away? Well, if you hadn't put it away, I would have known exactly where it was. This is like the age-old battle, right? But don't touch anything she left out. Right? See, there's a little double standard thing going on. All right, so when I talked about those programmable drivers, right? And I mentioned the 2 data wires that go out to between all the devices. We also have non-dim relay modules that can talk what we call ecosystem. That's the line of equipment, and this is an ecosystem ESN. These are called energy saver nodes, and this is an eco version of the energy saver nodes. Not to be confused with the exact same can that looks exactly the same but has a different label on it. This is actually the processor. This black box is your quantum processor, and there's another one on the 3rd floor. And that is the brain. Even if your computer is not up and running, and it hasn't been. I mean, there was nothing here till I turned my laptop on this morning and loaded it up and synced up to it. So the system will run and work just fine. But this is the brains of the unit, and then you have communication links that go out to all of these kind of devices, and also to all your keypads in all the spaces. Okay, it will also go to the QSM. I mentioned that there's QSMs throughout the building, and those are the receivers for all our wireless devices. The wireless daylight sensors, wireless occupancy sensors, wireless wall switches. Some of those wall switches are wireless, or can be wireless, I'd have to look, but the keypad with the 5 or 6 buttons, that's wired, but the other keypad could have been wireless. I'm not sure if it is, but it's the same style. So these links here go out to all those kinds of devices, and then each one of these cans has 2 ecosystem loops off of it. Now each one of these loops can do up to 64 devices. This is not wired per room. So one of these loops could be doing 5 classrooms because it's digital. So the low voltage wire goes around, loops around, does some number less than 64 drivers, and then all those drivers get assigned to the rooms. And so when you're programming, you're flashing the lights in a few rooms, but you're just assigning the ones that are in that room to that room. It's a very flexible system. Like that reference to Joe's office in the open office thing. You can reprogram something if you want to because it's all just on a loop. I don't have to hardwire anything. That said, I don't care where the power comes from for those drivers. So that's something Alex and your electricians will have to provide to you, is to what is feeding the actual line voltage to each room. So a very important safety thing to note, especially for you, is that if I go into a room and hit the keypad and turn the lights off, there's still line voltage up at the driver. There's still line voltage in the fixture. I have only digitally shut it off by hitting the button. Okay? So it's not like, you know, you're switching home a toggle switch that's actually removing the line voltage from the fixture. It is programmed so that it's not safe to work on it unless you actually have the breaker isolated. The other thing that's dangerous about that, or can be dangerous if you don't do it properly, is that it is a digital and programmed system, right? So even if I had some panel-based loads where I know, hey, I am removing the power, right? Some of our stuff can be panel-based. I don't think you have that here, but you could. It will remove power, but something else could turn the lights on. There could be a time clock event. There could be a sensor. There could be a contact closure. Something else could turn the lights on. So you always have to operate or do any maintenance or anything with the breaker that actually feeds that off. Big point of safety. Okay, so any questions so far? I know I've been spitting at you for a little while.
For 22 minutes.
Oh, yeah, well, you're welcome. Yeah, there's a lot to it, but the beauty of it is once it's all done and programmed.
So there's no panel relay, the relays, like the other school has a whole panel with all relays on it.
Right, no, probably not. I don't think you have any panel-based. I wish Alex was here. I didn't do the startup here, but if you had any panel stuff, it would probably be for exterior lights only. It would just be a small thing. Everything looks like everything interior to the building is ecosystem.
Okay.
You might have a small panel that does site lighting. I'm not positive, but I can look. I could look in the database and see if there is. But,
It's usually in one of these rooms. Like, the other
Yeah.
school has a whole panel right next to the main one, so.
right.
Like you said, the main power's here.
Right,
facing
well, that's
up,
probably an
so that-
XPS system or something. Does it have a controller in it with buttons on it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's an XPS system. That's one of ours. Those work very well. They're cumbersome to program, but they work
Yeah,
well. All right, any other questions? Outstanding. Like I said, another one of our guys is coming this week for 2 or 3 days to try to button this thing up. And also, you'll have another visit probably in another couple months. We call it a welcome meeting, where we actually get together with the end users and do a little training again, and then talk about some of our offerings for service contracts and recurring maintenance visits and things like that you can opt for. Because we found years ago that oftentimes you guys, this is like your 15th training session this week, and you just got trained on the BMS, you just got trained on the generator, you got trained on the fire, boom, 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 you get all this stuff at you. And to be perfectly honest with you, you don't know what you don't know at this point, right? You're like, oh, this is great. Yeah, I know the lighting system. The guy explained it good. It's all good. Until 3 weeks from now, a teacher asks you a question. Hey, blah, 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 blah. Oh, I don't remember. I don't know if we can do that. I don't think he mentioned that. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Right? You don't know what requirements are going to come up. And we take care of that at that visit. So, all right. All right, any other questions? Outstanding.